the genocidal Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And yes, I can say genocidal because it just came out that the UK government sold more weapons to Israel in the last 3 months of 2024 than the whole of the Conservative government in 2023. I spent the last week denying that he's a xenophobe that likes to quote racists. Just because of the nationalist tone, of the moral urgency, of the alarm. When he said that uncontrolled immigration, which is a lie, by the way, because it wasn't uncontrolled. If these people were allowed to come in, it's controlled. It's pulling our country apart and addicting us to cheap labor. Saying that it was rife for abuse, but not pointing out that it wasn't the immigrants abusing it, because it was the migrants that were the targets of exploitation and abuse by the very same people that labor refuses to tax, you know, the rich. Was not echoing the tones of the infamously racist speech given by the infamously racist politician Enoch Powell in 1968 when he predicted that uncontrolled immigration would allow the black man to have the whip hand over the native white people of the United Kingdom. He did say that we were at risk of becoming an isle of the strangers. But just because Powell said that British people were running the risk of becoming strangers in their own country, it doesn't mean that he was echoing a racist sentiments, because strangers is a common word. But was that the only racist and xenophobic dog whistle that was in that speech? Have you ever heard of the West Park Primary School in Wolverhampton? I promise I have a point. If you were alive in 1968 when Enoch Powell gave that speech, you possibly would have had. Because although the school wasn't name-checked in the Rivers of Blood speech, it was immediately recognized at the time for featuring heavily in it. It was one of the points that most inflamed racial tensions. One of the reasons that Enoch Powell gave to write that speech was a conversation that he supposedly had with one of his constituents. This person apparently complained that their child was the only white child in school, and because of that, the teachers spent the vast majority of the time trying to teach English to all of the other children of color, and that was the reason why the white child was behind in their studies. This is a very famous trope that continues to be echoed by far-right politicians. It was first applied to the black and brown people who came to this country, but that slowly and surely started being applied by right-wing politicians to every single immigrant, reaching an exploding crescendo in Eastern European migrants just on the outset of Brexit. The Prime Minister's speech knowingly drinks from this well of bigotry. Whilst they have the plausible deniability of saying that they're criticizing the Tory government, what they're actually doing is launching a bullhorn, not a dog whistle, a bullhorn of racist and xenophobic beliefs that have cast immigrants then and now as people who just do not want to learn, that do not want to integrate. While number 10 is clutching their pearls, saying that they didn't envision that whatsoever, the fact that they only took GB News to a tour of Albania, in which they were touting the possibility of using that country that Italy failed to use because it was illegal, of a hub to deport asylum seekers, belies that. They can't even be competent liars.